My name is Christian Roberts, and this is my report on utilizing nostalgia as a tool for emotional well-being. Now, I want you to think back to a happy memory from your past. What did it sound like? What did it smell like? Who were the people there? What were you doing? Now, this vision in your mind is called nostalgia, or for a dictionary definition, it is a sentimental longing or wistful affection for the past. And we experience nostalgia on a daily basis, all the time, from reminiscing with friends to seeing targeted ads or products, to even hearing an old childhood song that I personally haven't been able to get out of my head for the last 6 weeks. We experience nostalgia constantly. However, there are many common misconceptions about its usage and practicality in modern life. Now, in this report, I will be doing 3 things. First, we will look at nostalgia historically to see the context of nostalgia and why it's so important that we understand it today. We will scientifically look at the advantages and consequences of nostalgia, along with how it is intrinsically connected to social factors. And then finally, we will put this together in order to develop a strategy for utilizing nostalgia in our everyday lives in order to improve our emotional well-being. So first, historically, nostalgia before the 20th century was classified as a psychopathological disorder. It was reported in many different groups all throughout history. For instance, it was shown in the 30 Years' War of 1618. It was shown in the War of the Polish Succession in 1733, and it was even shown in the American Civil War of 1861. Nostalgia has been with us throughout history. It's not some recent development. However, our modern understanding of nostalgia and how it works is very new and something we need to understand better. In the past, treatments for nostalgia were often very brutal and, well, uneducated. They were harmful to us psychologically, and that just can't stand anymore. Now that we have current methods at our disposal, we can utilize them to look at exactly what nostalgia is. Not a psychopathological disorder, but something that we experience constantly and is very valuable to us and our emotional well-being. Firstly, it is very important for helping us maintain and protect our sense of self-identity. Well, self-identity, it is the recognition of one's potential and qualities as an individual, especially in relation to social context. It's essentially our ambitions, our personality, things we believe define us. It's how we view ourselves. Now, nostalgia is very important in being able to both promote and protect this from existential threats. In a study by 2 Stanford professors, Konstantin Sedekhides and Tom Wildschut, they showcased how nostalgia acted as a sort of repository and a buffer against these existential threats. Essentially, when participants were exposed to content that would harm their self-image, when they had been pre-exposed to nostalgia, they didn't have as defensive of a reaction because the nostalgia naturally acted as a buffer against these threats. Nostalgia is used by the body to protect our minds from these external forces. In addition, it helps foster a sense of social connection. Essentially, nostalgia, well, everybody needs social connection. Psychologically speaking, they help reinforce overall health and well-being and help fight against things like loneliness or boredom. However, such social bonds are not always capable of being attained, especially on a moment-to-moment basis. Say you're either alone or just unable to see someone. Nostalgia can act as a quick, almost like Band-Aid for this desire for social connection by looking back on past happy memories with friends and family. Essentially, it just can, how do I word it? It's essentially when we're unable to immediately respond to something, nostalgia steps in as this temporary buffer against whatever it is we need protecting from. However, there are limits to its power and common pitfalls that we often fall into when utilizing it. The first of these is the idealized past. Essentially, over time, memories tend to degrade. We tend, things in the past, we don't remember them exactly, detail for detail. Our minds over time will take those past memories and they'll generalize the emotions we associate. A complicated memory in the past may just end up being viewed as happy or sad, and not much in between. So when we look back on a happy memory, we only remember the good. And if we directly compare that to our present, which is often not perfectly good, it's often quite complicated, good and bad, they just can't compare, and you end up making yourself feel worse. And this becomes a huge problem when you can get stuck in this endless loop of trying to use nostalgia in order to alleviate your present woes, but then it only ends up making you feel worse. So you try and use it again, and it creates this endless loop that you have to get out of by recognizing that you're in the loop. In addition, there's one other major consequence that can come with nostalgia, which is called anticipatory nostalgia. The best way I can describe it is imagine imagine a happy memory with a grandparent or someone, an older relative, and you're very happy in the instant, but you recognize that this memory cannot last. You know that eventually they'll pass away or move on or something like that. So in order to protect yourself from this eventuality, you will essentially try and retreat from the present. You'll try and separate yourself from that. However, then if you continue doing this for everything in order to protect yourself from eventual sadness, there will be no happy memories to fall back onto. It becomes another vicious loop in which there's no happy memories. So overall, for using nostalgia, the thing we have to recognize is that what we have to recognize is that it's a temporary solution. We cannot continuously use it. What we have to do is only use it to briefly go into the past in order to help the present, help how we're currently feeling. For more permanent solutions, we need social bonds. Nostalgia acts as a temporary solution, but these social bonds are what actually manage to hold us together and keep our emotional well-being intact in the long term. So overall, for utilizing nostalgia, you have to recognize when you're using it either too much or too little, and you have to make sure that you recognize that it is an idealized past that you're looking on. You have to use it to aid the present. You can't just escape to the past. Thank you. Now, I have the research question. Right. Research question is, what evidence did you gather that you didn't use? Why did you choose not to use it? So I got a lot of different evidence and stuff for this project. A lot of it I did end up using, however, there were some specific ones that I was not able to utilize. The main one I can think of was this article by Christine Bacho. She was in this presentation, but that was a very generalized cultural look on anticipatory nostalgia and like how it's been utilized by like songwriters especially, and recognizing that. And I tried getting, I eventually found the PDF of her full like scientific paper on it, but at a certain point it just kind of became redundant in a sense. Like I could just take the summarized article and be able to present that and it just created a lot more flow and was much easier for both me and the audience to understand. So in the end, it was a lot of finding summarized articles rather than the very source. That's what I didn't use. All right, thank you very much.